All right, so let's switch directions just a little bit here for a few minutes. The term instruction is at the heart of education. So now we're talking about training and
Mhm.
instruction and teaching. Okay. As you look at education in this country, public and private, from pre K through higher ed, are there any areas of instruction that you feel need more or less attention given? And why? So now, again, this is another one of those big picture items, because when we let me preface here a little bit more too. As leaders in education, it's not just about some pet issue. The goal here is to prepare these students for life, but life what? Life where? Life how? It's about the workforce. It's about healthy communities and societies. It's about flourishing and
Mhm.
instruction. And there are so many different curriculums and all these different instructional things, but some of them, it's arguable how much real value they bring to the individual and
Right.
the society. And then there are others that are absolutely bedrock critical. um, Talk to us a little bit.
Well, in thinking about this, I think that instruction needs to be focused on life training. I think you mentioned mentoring at the beginning of our interview. Exactly, that's what instruction is mentoring children, young adults, to learn how to think, how to find information, but how to think for themselves really, and how
Mhm.
to align their goals and their thoughts about life with the Bible. That, as Christian parents, that's our goal for instruction. Now, obviously, not all levels of education does that very thing, but I think that's instruction. That's what instruction is supposed to be doing. And there's different kinds of instruction. There's that just right now there's a lot of technology involved in instruction, and that goes across the board. A lot of homeschoolers are watching videos of classrooms. um, I feel like the best instruction that helps a child become a person who is a well-rounded person is the kind of instruction that's hands-on, that's helping them not just saying things, but and not just memorizing rote things from the past, history, whatever, but they're learning and doing and practicing it for themselves. So that's the kind of instruction that's not going to be just watching a video or just listening to somebody talk. They're actually getting out there and doing it. There's a book out there called Teach Like a Pirate. Huge fan of that book. And it's great for instructors to help them teach in an exciting way that involves the students, that they embrace it for themselves. It's not just learning and then you walk away and forget, which is what a lot of instruction does these days. But pirate teaching, they learn it by doing it and they're excited about it. It's an adventure. Um, and that I don't know if that's exactly what you're looking for. That's, in my mind, that kind of instruction teaches a kid for life.
Yeah.
It teaches them how to be a pirate themselves and find adventure in life, and ultimately find treasure. Which our ultimate goal for our children is the treasure of heaven. But what are the components of that? In instruction, and I think that involves a lot of hands-on.
And if I can, yeah, just from a higher ed perspective, there's been a movement lately in the past few years that says, from a legal perspective, if your college or university does not prepare you for a gainfully employed opportunity, you can go back and sue your college. They did not prepare you for life.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a scary premise in many ways. But, looking at, I serve on a Christian college board. What good is it to have an organ major? People really don't use organs a whole lot anymore. So I think it's really important that we align our instruction to be for a need that exists in our world. And that's ever changing. There are people now who are serving in jobs that did not exist 10 years ago.
Right.
But we have to be forward thinking and solution oriented so that we're saying what we're doing in practical terms is helping to prepare you for a life of ministry in a world that is rapidly evolving.
Yeah, that's really great. Both of your comments are important there. But Robbie, what you're saying is that, training needs to be preparing people for the future.
Yes.
And so in a sense, Rachel, you're saying is helping teach in a way that causes the student to love to learn. That's what
Yes.
makes them curious, makes them excited about learning, and gives them the tools to learn. And
For their lifetime. Yeah.
exactly. And then that way they will continue. They'll be a lifetime learner. But then at the other side of that is, as leaders in education, the education we are providing now, as much as possible, we need to make sure we are giving them those foundational skills so that as things change in our world, technologies and other kinds of things, that they can adapt and grow, but they have the foundations that enable them to do that. So, it's interesting. We used to think of, when we talked about school back in the day, it was always the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. And because it was just commonly looked at and known, if you can read well, if you can write or communicate well, if you understand math, then you could engage, you could go pretty much any direction and learn and grow and flourish. It seems that, by looking at our outcomes, testing the results, and just engaging people at the cash register and in life in general, way too many students are not getting those foundational skills anymore. And as a result, and because, the reality is, true accountability isn't often there in our schools. And so, it's kind of like we just move these kids on through, whether they're getting it or not getting it. And, and as a result, we are not really preparing them. In reality, we're preparing them for failure.
I think that's really important. And I heard a concept recently that I think applies to this. If you look at input and process, output, and then outcome, we have done a lot in education to say, okay, we have students, that's our input, our process is education, our output is graduates. Well, we can have graduates all over the place.
Sure.
But if there's no outcome that is well articulated, if we don't have a vision statement for them, what are we going to do with those graduates? I can go to Google, I can go to Siri, I can go to a number of places right now. I can get any information I want about any war or any fact from history in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that cramming all those facts in my head is going to make me a better person. But I think if we articulate well, what is the outcome we're looking for? How can we target that? And then as we see these people graduate, then they engage in that world. So it's the world that needs to be changed through the power of people who know how to think and who are in tune with God and with faith, and go out and make a difference and live their lives in a way that is pleasing to God. But in turn, it makes for a very satisfying life for us as well.